Okay, so back on the big site again. Obviously this is the building that we're doing for our customer. Quick recap of where we're up to. So we have got roof on, nets and handrail are all now down. All the cladding rails are pretty much fitted now around the edge. All the sag systems on the cladding rails are in. The brickwork, block work, damp course is all in. All the doorways, all the insulation is in. And all the window apertures are now in terms of the cold rolled element of forming them window positions. So we'll have a quick look now at the brickwork and block work. So Bobby and Lenny have done all this. Okay, so if you remember, the posts were grouted in, so the cones were filled with the grout, and then basically we got a strip foot in between each stanchion, and this is why. So under here basically then we got 2 concrete blocks, which are a 4-inch solid block to create the inside of the wall. We then put this on, which is a damp course membrane, so that goes through, on the top of that block, that goes through, and then basically comes down here, and then when we come to concrete the building, and put the insulation and all the rest of it in, that concrete level will come through, and that will stop because we'll have a damp-proof membrane underside of the concrete. So that'll obviously be under there, if you like, come down, and then effectively the floor of the building is then tanked in a way, so no damp can come through the floor or can come through the side. Between the blockwork and the exterior brickwork, as in the face brickwork, we've then got a cavity. Engineer have designed this as a full fill cavity, which has got this like a bit different than what we did on the house. This is more that furry sort of rock wall type stuff. So that goes in full fill, and then we've got the blue engineering brick on the outside of the building. So then on the outside of the building, we've got the blue engineering brick. So we've got the first, obviously, concrete block on the bottom, which has just sorted the height out, took some of the, and then everything that is then visual, effectively, well, not all of that is visual, but we come up with a blue engineering brick. So you will see some of that where the cladding will come down this face of the rail, we seal it here to the brickwork, and then basically, let's say for argument's sake, the cladding comes to there, there'll be a drip sill that comes down, nicely to finish the bottom of the cladding, and then you'll see your 2 or 3 courses, depending on the outside level, but the 2 or 3 courses of the blue engineering brick. While we're here as well, all the sheeting rails are in. So these are sheeting rails, so these are cold rolled section again, the same as the purlins in the roof. And then basically there's a few things different on this because although there's nothing there at the moment, this is a boundary wall condition because the edge of the site that the company who have bought this building own is 1 metre off of this building, or 1 metre off the exterior of the cladding. That's where the fence line will be. And basically a boundary wall condition means that from a fire perspective, you've got to make sure that if there's a fire, doesn't matter whether it's outside or inside the building, it's contained within its own site. So it means that you've got a higher level of fire resistance required to your building envelope. So a lot of that is covered with a cladding, but there's a requirement to the cold rolled rails as well. And one of which is these sleeves. So there's a cleat welded onto the stanchion here, which has got 4 holes in. And then on that cleat you have a sleeve which these rails sit within, and then if you look inside here, the rail is bolted through the sleeve to the cleat and to the sleeve here separately, and they've got nylon washers on. Now the reason they've got nylon washers on is when the heat, if there was a fire, is you've got a slot in the rail, you've got a nylon washer which will melt with the heat, and then instead of the bolt being fixed in the hole and nothing can move, you've got a slot. And when that washer melts, the bolt goes loose and it will allow expansion and contraction of obviously the sheeting rails. So in other words, instead of everything getting hot, and bang and breaking and falling off, it will give you extra time because it'll go slack and everything will be able to expand rather than just snap and break off. Sag wires, these bolt from the fixed point of the cleat on the main stanchion. So that's a fixed point there where you've bolted the top of this wire. And then the wire is adjustable at the bottom, and then that sag system carries on in a straight bar system all the way to the top. So where that wire comes down, the other one comes to it, you can adjust it. If that bottom rail there was sagging down like that, you just adjust the wire ropes and you bring it up perfectly level. So when you look from the inside of the building, everything is perfectly straight and true, and obviously it makes it easier for when you come to do your cladding as well. We're going to have a look at the concrete floors. Okay, so I know we've briefly touched on these floor beams before, but basically they've got the lifting points here and here, as in 4 of them within the flat panel, and that's what we use with the 4-leg chains, and we lift them up and drop them in. and then when they're in, they butt up to the next one, which then leaves, because of the way that they're made, it then leaves this gap here. Also as well, wherever there's a stanchion, for argument's sake, where they've been notched round, so what we'll do now is we'll make almost like a little shutter box round the edge of the stanchions, or we cap the end of this panel off, and then we'll fill this with like a grout. So like we grout the posts in, it's a very similar exercise. We do exactly the same with this. We fill that up, we let that go flush, and then when we've done that, this is basically then ready for a screed. And then on the top, you'll put a liquid or a dry screed, whichever you're doing, but basically, roughly, I think we're doing a wet screed of about 75mm thick on the top of here. And that'll give you your nice polished, finished floor. So whether it be storage or office space, you've got the option. There's many different options. You could have it pan finish or whatever you want, but generally the screed that we're going to put up here, I think, is polished. The other thing that's up here as well is they've got a window up here. So basically what we've done here is we've put a cold rolled aperture in. So we've altered the sheeting rail arrangement to suit whatever the windows are required by the customer. So that is the window height. And then obviously we've got two legs either side of this now, which forms your sides. So you've got a few different options when you come to clad it. Basically you can either clad right over that, and then we cut the windows out afterwards, or you can clad and flash it as you go. So I think it very much depends on A, when the windows are coming, B, whether we need the building to be watertight so that we can get on with other works internally, whether that be concreting, whether it be the electricians are coming, whether we've got stud work to do. Doesn't really matter. If it's got to be watertight, we can clad over it and we can cut them in afterwards. But basically you've got a flashing detail that'll go on there. So then when you've flashed all the windows in and everything, you then sit the, in this case, aluminium frame windows within. They get fixed in and they get sealed. In fact, they look exactly like this, which is our office block over the way. So that's how they look when they're done and finished. So we've got an aperture here. We've got, I believe, one below us. We've got exactly the same the other end of the building, and we've also got two windows, one upstairs and one downstairs, out the gable end of that end of the building, because there's no point looking out of this one because all you can see is my shed. So you might as well look out of that end where there will be some form of a view going forward. And then what we do here on the bottom is we turn that, normally the rail would be the other way up, so the C section would be up. We turn that one upside down, so basically we've got the nice shiny flat side of the rail facing up, we've got that one facing down, and then it's perfect to fit your window frames and everything in and your flashing work. So okay, so that's it for this site for today. Tuesday next week we're going to go back over to that local job and we'll show you some of the single skin cladding that we're fitting on that building and exactly where that project's up to. So I think they've got the single skin cladding, I think they've got all the panels fitted, and basically they've got the shedder flashings, which will show you what they are and how they work. We'll nip back here in a couple of weeks' time because the composite cladding will be going on this, so that'll be quite interesting to show how that composite material is fitted. So if you like what you've seen, hit subscribe, ring the bell, and we'll catch you next time. Cheers.